All right, if you don't know who DJ Scott the Rock is, man, we're going to introduce him to you today. Talking about the first hip hop artist that got killed. In this case, it actually was a DJ named Scott the Rock. And we're going to kind of go into the story of who he was, where he was from, what he did, and actually how he also got killed. Now, he goes by the name of Scott Sterling, and I believe he was born March 2, 1962 in the Bronx, New York City. Looks like his moms and pops broke up when he was about 4, so he ended up being raised by his mom's, Carolyn Moran, a municipal employee. So, she worked at the city, had the hookup, and I think she was in like social services and that type of thing. So this was able to give him kind of a stable home, even though he didn't have his pops around, but he was rolling with Carolyn. So they end up moving to Queens, New York City to the Bronx, first Morrisonea, and then the projects of Morris Heights. Basically, they kicked it there, and of course, being in the big city, he was exposed to the hood. Now, he wasn't dumb at all because he excelled in both academics and sports at Our Savior Lutheran High School. He graduated right about 1980. So this being about 2020, man, he'd have been about almost 60 today. So he graduated high school in 80, the class of 80, the shady cats. If you meet a cat from 1980, yeah, that's some real ones. He attended Castleton State College in Vermont and earned a varsity letter in basketball there. So he had some skills, had some handles coming out of New York. You know what I'm saying? He was able to rock that rock. He also graduated, all right, from Castleton State College in 1984. And as I said before, he did excel in academics and sports. So not only was he an artist, he was an educated artist. Now, after he graduated, he realized that he probably wouldn't become a professional basketball player. So DJ LaRock became more and more focused on the music. Now, while he was up at the school at Castleton State, I hear he used to DJ at this place called, I think it was Dugan's Bar, and he used to like turn it out on Friday nights with this other cat. I think his name was like Lee Smith, something like that. They helped introduce the entire campus to music, from New York City at an early time. So you're talking about the early 80s, 83, 82. And you got to understand at that time, hip hop was just being born. And when I say that, it had already been around about 8 or 9 years, from 74, 75. But this was a new breed of the MCs that bred, the Queensbridge Cats, Nas, and all them. So, BDP and Scott LaRock was the founders of that. Now, after he got back to New York, he was trying to find work and making roads into the music industry. So through a connection of his mom's, he got a job as a social worker at this place called the Franklin Armory Men's Shelter. And I think that was off of 166th Street, somewhere in the Bronx. Now at night, though he spun records at the hip-hop spot, he also had that thing about wanting to help people. I think he got that from his T. Jones or his mom. And at that place, the Broadway Repertoire Theater, he was honing his skills too and learning how to rock the house. And that social work also exposed him to a lot of different people that he normally wouldn't meet. Now, during his time as a social worker, I think this is when he ran into that rapper KRS-One in 1970. Was it 86, 87? I'm not sure. At the Franklin's Men's Shelter, where KRS was living. So KRS was homeless at the time. You know what I'm saying? So he going through all that, but he's still focusing on the rap. And then he get together with Scott LaRock, and they start masterminding, plotting. Next thing you know, they formed this thing called the Boogie Down Productions, better known as the BDP. And there was this other cat, DJ Derek D. Nice Jones. He was a cousin of one of the people who was at the shelter, at the security guard of Floyd Payne. So they got all together, you know what I'm saying? Mastermind, and brothers be hungry, be trying to eat. They start coming up with these plans. Hip hop was still young at the time. Crack was popping. You know what I'm saying? It was rough. Reagan was in. A lot of things was happening. So the group's 1987 debut album, Criminally Minded, man, that was a classic at the time. And it's still considered a classic to this day. So that music was written in the throes of KRS-One, you know, being in the homeless shelter. Scott just popping out of college, but they still, you know, brothers. So they get together and figure out how to get some grip. So at this point, they kind of decide to form a group called Boogie Down Productions. And the group basically consisted of Scott, who's the founding member and basically recruited them. Also, there was the guy named Lee Smith, who was essential production of song. And then there also were a few other members. There was D Nice, Henry Wilkerson, Papa Da, Kenny Parker, younger brother of KRS-One, Just Ice, McBoo, Miss Melody, Heather B, Scotty Morris, Tony Ranson, Willie D, RoboCop, Harmony, DJ Red Alert, Jay Kramer, D Square, Rebecca Foster, Scott Whitehall, Scott King, Chris, and I think it was Tate and Sidney Mills. So BD as a group essentially ended because KRS-One began recording and performing under his own name rather than the group name. So original member Lee Smith, who kind of co-Bruce credit on the original 12 South Bronx single, was the last to be explicitly jettisoned by KRS-One and the future new label after Scott's death. Now also, I'd like to comment on a situation called the Bridge Wars. And this is one of the first kind of hip-hop battles of dissing on wax, going after other people, and not actually have to be in their face. So a conflict arose in the late 80s, kind of concerning the origins of hip-hop, and BDP made conscious efforts to kind of establish its interpretation of the issue. Now, the origins of hip-hop, to many, including BDP, are believed to be from the Bronx. So a rival hip-hop collective known as the Juice Crew, they had spit some lyrics which were misunderstood and kind of contained a claim in the song called The Bridge that hip-hop was directly a result of artists originating from Queensbridge. Okay? So Boogie Down and KRS retorted angrily, and they spit out a song, The Bridge Is Over, and also South Bronx. Now these two songs, they kind of started what we call the hip-hop wars. There was MC Shan, Marley Marl, Roxanne, I Want to Be Your Man, Roxanne Shante, and Black Poet. And they all released songs featuring verses personally dissing KRS and Scott LaRock. So the Bridge Wars, however, were only short-lived, and after the death of Scott LaRock, prior to the group's second album, KRS began to concentrate kind of like on socially conscious movements, stop the violence, and kind of changing the direction they were going. I think he saw that, hey, if we keep on having these battles, these cats is real out here in the streets, and they're going to stand up for theirs. So maybe we can turn this around and take a lemon and turn it into lemonade. So basically, that was kind of what squashed it. And then his move in a new political direction started him another war he wasn't ready for. But I digress. Let me get back to my man Scott LaRock. So after this, basically there was an incident that kind of escalated the situation where Scott was eventually shot and killed. So on August 27, 1987, D Nice, who was kind of a member of the crew, he was assaulted by some bros who were upset that he had been talking to one of their ex-girlfriends. Not their girlfriend, but their ex-girlfriend. So D Nice asked Scott to help him defuse the situation, come talk to him, let him know it ain't all that. Later that day, LaRock, Scotty, manager Mo, Morris, DJ McBoo, D Nice, and even a bodyguard from BDP named Daryl rode a Jeep CJ7 down to the High Bridge Homes projects. Now, if you remember the 80s, New Jack City, if you was rolling in a Jeep and pull up, that meant y'all was on a mission to do some business, just straight up. So at that point, they pull up, right? And they try to kind of diffuse the situation, and everything was cool. They was like, they thought it handled. They headed back to the Jeep, but you know how that go. You be thinking somebody letting it go, and they finna let go some shots. So as they were leaving, bullets were fired through the side and the top of the Jeep. LaRock, he got shot in the head, and then his face bounced on the dashboard. Now, they looked at him and not realizing at the time that he had been hit by a bullet in the back of the head, they go, okay, let's get him to the hospital. So they drive into Lincoln Hospital. He's conscious as he's wheeled into the emergency department or room. And he just tells the doctors, hey, man, I'm feeling tired and kind of cold. He died in the operating room. 2 men were arrested and charged with LaRock's murder, but they were acquitted at the trial. So that is the story of Scott LaRock, and one of the first hip-hop artists to be shot, which basically may have stemmed from a battle. Not saying that it did, because you know in the hood anything can pop off. It's not always one situation, it's a cumulative effect of situations, because you can have a cat you've been beefing with since 3rd grade, bro, and then y'all been living in the same hood for 20 years. You could run into him on the wrong day at the wrong time, and either he gonna pop you or you gonna pop him. That's why I always say sometimes, man, a prophet has no honor in his own country. You gotta get up out of where you come from. Sometimes if it's toxic and it's killing you, why would you stay? If you thriving in where you come from and everything is good, man, blessings to you. But if not, go. Thank you again. This is Infinite 9 at 9 at the morning show. Hey, be sure to subscribe, follow us for more content. Got a lot coming down the pipeline. You can just hit that subscribe button right to the left. Be sure to share the video. If you have any comments, please put them in there. We're not stopping anybody from trolling. I'm going to let you have it. You say what you want to say, and that's what it is. I won't take it personally.
South Bronx, the South Bronx, South Bronx, the South Bronx, the South Bronx, the South Bronx, South Bronx, the South Bronx. What's the matter with your DJ MC Shan on the wheels of steel Marlin? Sucks. What's the matter with your DJ MC Shan on the wheels
And
of
he
steel
still
Marlin?
is. It's just sad we've lost him to the tragedy that went on in the Bronx, a little shootout out there in the Bronx. Stop the violence.
And what happened was Scott was trying to be a peacemaker between
Exactly,
situation
between D-Nice and this guy, and things just got out of hand.